Welcome, everybody. Welcome to your Monday Live. We are here for you to talk about one of the greatest weeks of all time, and that is Texas A&M week. Pretty excited about it. This is something that was revealed earlier in the live. I'm just curious. Yeah, we'll start with you, Coach. Have you ever been to Kyle Field? Have you seen? No, you've not seen one. What about you, Ian? Have you seen a game there? So none of us here have actually seen a game there. That's kind of crazy, I think, given the fact that we've kind of all been around. That's it's a little bit scary.
What are you doing starting this off by saying howdy? I mean, are you starting to talk like an ag?
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I wasn't familiar. There was a specific nomenclature or colloquialisms we were or were not allowed to use in terms of greetings.
They love saying howdy.
Good day, gentlemen. I don't know what the best way to handle this is. Ian, you wrote a little bit. Well, you wrote an article today about the run game specifically and how we might fare against A&M. And I'm just curious if you can maybe give us a little bit of a preview of that.
Well, I need to study up on Texas A&M's defense a little more. It looks like Auburn ran the ball on them pretty well, which is promising. Texas they have the same thing they have had for the last 2 years, which is a really diverse playbook that can run the ball a lot of different ways. I think that creates a lot of problems for defenses trying to keep up. If they had a power back that could break arm tackles and run through some of this, I think they would be the favorites to win the national championship. Not a knock on Wisner, who's really solid or good at a lot of different things. But, if they had like Roshan or, like Michigan with Blake Corum last year or somebody like that, it would just be the straw that broke the camel's back between all the things this offense does pretty well, the blocking, and then the quality of the defense.
Now, you had an interesting thought, Coach, earlier. You think that their rush defense matches up well against ours. Is that what you were saying earlier?
Look, they're a little chaotic in what they do up front. What hurts them is they bring a ton of pressure and blitz, but sometimes they get out of their gaps. That's why you see some of the explosive runs. If they're very sound, then they cover all the gaps and they bring pressure. They're able to get tackles for loss and stop you in the backfield, get you behind the chains. But it just depends. They're so inconsistent. That's the key. A&M is very inconsistent in the way they play up front. They're good, but they're inconsistent.
Eric, and we are here on Monday, so there's a lot that's going to happen between now and Saturday. But just kind of shoot from the hip. How are you feeling about this game? Is confidence high? Where are you on this one?
I feel great. Just because mainly the defense, the Texas defense, they've already proven themselves capable of dealing with quarterbacks like Marcel Reed. The edges play very disciplined. The secondary is going to take away his second read if he can even get to it. They're going to take away his first read more often than not, I think. So that's my greatest confidence. My apprehension is probably their pass rush, even though Texas pass pro has been very good of late. Their pass rush against a potentially hobbled Quinn Ewers, who's not necessarily quick to exit the pocket. He doesn't have the greatest feel to begin with. The pressure that they were getting against certain teams is going to result in sacks. We saw South Carolina's quarterback pull a rabbit out of his hat repeatedly. They can never get him on the ground. That's not the same thing. That's not going to work. They'll be getting Quinn Ewers on the ground if they get that amount of pressure. They've gotten pressure against LSU as well. So that's probably my major point of contention. Like, I could see this being a lower scoring game. I just don't see how A&M is going to repeatedly move the ball. Given their run game is so-so, I like their backup running back, Amari Daniels, but their skill players are lacking. I don't see how they're going to separate. I don't see how the quarterback's going to have enough time to find the wide receivers should they get open. So ride the defense and score enough points, and I feel good about it.
Seems like a pretty, wouldn't you necessarily consider that a Steve Sarkisian game plan? But that seems to be the course that we've kind of tread this year. Ian, does that jive with what you're thinking?
What's the specific formula there? Just
defense and being able to own the line of scrimmage is what basically Eric was saying.
Well, you know what? It's increasingly the discourse around Texas reminds me of the discourse around Pete Carroll's USC Trojans, which was that it was all glitz and glamour and offense and excitement. But when you studied those teams, especially the best versions of the Pete Carroll teams, they were actually really hard-nosed, really demanding culture, dominant physical defense, power run game, right? And it was like, it was Lindale White that gave Texas problems, not
Right.
Not Matt Leinart. And if they'd had one of their defensive they'd had years prior or years subsequent, Texas loses that game, right? Probably. So, I mean, obviously, I think we're going to see a better offense in the future for Sarkisian. I don't think we've seen the real fully operational Sarkisian offense yet at Texas. But like Carroll, there's a lot more to him than just that. So, yes and no.
He's a total football coach, and that lends
Yeah.
itself to the possibility of having a good defense, whereas some of these other offensive guys, I always use Lincoln Riley because I don't think you can possibly pile on him enough. He doesn't have that disciplined culture and that toughness to where, okay, the offense isn't doing great, or maybe I'm not getting the most out of the players. He doesn't have that defense and that toughness to lean on, whereas Steve Sarkisian, this is a Pete Kwiatkowski defense that's playing to its potential. This is as good a Pete Kwiatkowski defense as we've seen since the days of Washington or Boise State before those. They're leading the way. Now the offense just has to do enough. But Pete Carroll was a defensive coach, and there were times that the offense carried the day for him. Similar, and Nick Saban, once he adapted to the more modern offenses, the offense started overshadowing. It's led by Steve Sarkisian in 2020. The offense overshadowed the defense. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a testament to the overall quality of a head coach he is.
With what is, if you were coach, I'm just curious. So the folks that, let's say we do have, and Eric pointed this out earlier, that look, there's a lot of Texas fans watch only the Texas games, and fair enough, right? What should we expect from a Marcel Reed?
The first read's not there. He's probably going to try to take off outside the pocket, or you got to watch him scrambling up the middle. I think that's where you spot him. I haven't seen him scramble as much outside. He takes off up the middle, right? So when he takes off running, so Anthony Hill won't have to run as far to sit him down nicely, as they said earlier. But that's key, watching his feet, just in the pocket. Like, he'll try to go through his reads, but he's really not trying to go through. He's just trying to find a place to escape and take off running, honestly.
Yeah, when he rolls right, he does do a good job of trying to find a wide receiver. I'm not sure how great that's going to work for him. To his credit, he does look to run for sure. That's all young athletic quarterbacks look to that. But there are times when he slides right that he's looking to find a receiver. Noah, sometimes he'll throw a jump ball to Noah Thomas, who's like 6'5" string bean that can get up and get it. But I just don't see him having he's going to be running for his life a lot. And not just because of the defensive line, but because, he's not going to have nearly as open receivers as he's used to.
I do think that there's, and we talked about this a little bit on Sunday, Coach. I think one of the aspects of the defense, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Eric, and then I'd love to hear from you as well, Ian. But one of the things that doesn't get talked about as much is just the absolute discipline that everybody seems to be playing with. I mean, they're not playing hero ball. They're doing their job. They're focusing on their job. And as you have pointed out, Eric, it is team defense. And I'd like for you to speak a little bit about that discipline. That's not that it wasn't there last year, but to me, that's one of the biggest gaps between last year and this year.
Yeah, well, we talked about it being the number one focus on defense for the season was just the cohesiveness between the units. We felt good about each individual unit. If you go back to August, we were not worried about defensive tackle. We were not worried about defensive backs. We felt that the talent was good. We felt that they had the possibility to be a really good secondary, maybe not the best in the country, or maybe not, statistically one of the best of the century, but good. But we didn't know how they would all work together. And, we're not seeing busts between the three levels for sure. We're barely even seeing individual busts. Jahdae Barron had his first one, I think, of the season. We saw actually a couple the other day, but they weren't unit busts or lack of coordination. It was just individuals making mistakes, which tends to happen. But yeah, I think the cohesiveness of the defense is why, they're good. They are good, but I think they're even punching above their weight of the individual parts just because of how cohesively they're playing. I think Johnny Nance has done a pretty good job of that. We talked about him kind of playing a big part of team run defense. I mean, what is Taff is number 2 on the team in tackles, I think. And a lot of those are coming downhill and pretty near the line of scrimmage. He's not always, making tackles down the field. That talks to their ability to get him involved in the run game, which we knew coming in, making up for sort of the losses of Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. They had a good plan coming in. They had the good pieces, and they've been executing pretty much from the start of the season.
I think, did they speak to that bust in a presser? Because I think that may have actually been a coach on the field, Michael Taft, that committed the error.
Which one? The McDonald one?
No, the one where Barron got beat down the sideline.
No, that's on Barron, man. He's looking at how could that possibly be on Taft?
Because it looked like it may have been Palms, where he would get the slot if he went out and the safety
That's
plays.
a long way for Taft to go, man. I don't know.
Well, Taft came up, so Taft didn't think that he was playing that coverage. But Barron behaved. It may have been Barron, but to me, it looked like it might have been Taft.
Well, we know Taft will take the blame. He's out there wearing a Thorpe shirt, trying to get his boys some love for the Thorpe Award. So Taft will definitely take the blame for that, I'm sure. It looked to me like Jahdae Barron got greedy and wanted to make a play.
It could have been.
I didn't take it. And it would make sense to have the backup quarterback in, right? Jahdae Barron didn't know that guy was going to come out like the rifleman and just start bombing down the field. But I thought he was looking to make a play, and it was already taken away. The underneath receiver had a couple guys on him already. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious, and I'll try to get an answer on what happened on that play.
Yeah, and I thought 1 and 2 kind of attacking vertical, but then the linebacker didn't put hands on the slot guy. So I thought Jahdae kind of came inside like he was playing 3, like he was trying to cover both guys at the exact same time. But Taft rolled down to like curl flat and picked up the guy. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. But when you get a guy gets a free release, it's kind of hard to read as a corner if you're trying to cover both at the same time. So who knows?
I mean, neither of those guys are capable of making mistakes. So we're at an impasse. I don't know. Is it even possible to blame them the way they've both played so sound all season?
Just going to the chat here a little bit. I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the chat. And we talked a little bit about Reed, but this actually came up in our group text chat today. People are looking for comps. They want to know what is the comp here, and a couple people have thrown out some ideas here. So Taylon Green is obviously because the mobility, I would imagine, and we've also got maybe some Hawkins from OU. I mean, where do you land on this, Eric, between those two comps?
Play style maybe somewhat similar to Taylon. But I think the talent level, maybe not the talent level. Let's not. Here's the thing: he's got a year on Hawkins. They're both freshmen, but Hawkins is a true freshman, right, guys? Yeah. He had a deer in headlights where Marcel Reed plays with a lot more composure, but he's kind of built similarly, and I think they have pretty lively arms, but not rockets. I think skill set wise, he's probably most similar to Hawkins, but Hawkins being a true freshman and going up against that defense with no weapons, a poor offensive line at OU. We didn't see whatever Hawkins is going to be, and I don't know if Hawkins is going to be the quarterback of the future there or what. But he's got some skill to work with. I would say similar to Hawkins, but not. He's more advanced than Hawkins. And he's got a better ecosystem around him.
Advanced is a strong word, though.
Well, I said more advanced than Hawkins. I didn't say he's advanced.
I know, but it's just that's the only.
He's more advanced. If I say I'm taller than you, that doesn't mean I'm tall.
That's for sure. But it is. I mean, that's kind of a good comp, though. I'm a 5'8" for the record, so.
Yeah, I'm a full 6 foot, 6 foot and a half.
I'm not very tall.
You guys are filling out your Tinder profiles.
I kind of like the Hawkins comp. I mean, Eric is right that Reed is better and more advanced, I guess. Reed, one difference that I think is a big problem for A&M is that Reed is best in space. And he's actually kind of dangerous in improv. Like some of the throws he makes on the move. I think he's pretty much a one read guy. He's got his primary read, and then he's looking to move around and see what materializes in front of him. And sometimes that's a pass that he can make, especially if he's going right. Like I think Eric said earlier, a lot of times it's running. Hawkins is a more powerful dude. He can run inside. Texas A&M right now is a power run game offense without an inside runner. And so they have to default to asking Reed to run between the tackles, which is, it's amazing that he's held up through these games doing that. And if they had Le'Veon Moss, I would feel a little differently about this game. But because they don't, it really defangs their offense in a lot of ways.
I think the backup's pretty good, but he's not Moss.
I want to thank Quentin really quickly for this $1.99 minivan down payment. We appreciate that. At this rate, we hope to get it to Ian's children before they graduate college. But thank you so much for that. The super chat, get your super chats in. We will be sure to address those. Staying with Reed, Coach, AR is asking, would you heat up Reed with blitzes? How would you attack that quarterback?
Most one read guys, you just want to show a bunch of pressure, show a bunch of people at the line of scrimmage, force him to try to make a read and see who's coming, who's not coming. Because if you blitz, right, and you miss, he has the ability to escape. Everybody's back is turned covering a man. He can eat up a chunk of yardage that way. So, but Texas has done a great job when they bring blitzes. They're really, really like dialed up the right way, right? Pressures come, guys drop off like a little zone blitz, and so you really can't tell who's coming every time they do it. But the thing about Texas when they blitz is they still contain the edges. They don't lose containment whatsoever. They're so disciplined when everybody stays in their gap. So it's really tough. But if you blitz them, man, just make sure you stay in your gap. Don't get out of your gap, and don't miss if you blitz, right? Because then, like I said, everybody back is turned. He can pick up a chunk of yardage, and so it's really tough. But I wouldn't blitz him as much, right? I'll make him read the field because I don't think that's his strong suit.
Texas also has
another big Trey Moore game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas has a lot of guys. Trey Moore is really disciplined. Barron Sorrell and Ethan Burke are really disciplined. It's hard to get outside those guys. And then Hill and Simmons and really Benda, too, if he's on the field, make it really hard for a guy like Reed to get very far when he escapes, as long as they're in relative proximity.
Right.
Those guys all run really well, and it's just hard to get away, especially some of the plays Simmons makes. Like, we'll dive into it in the offseason probably. That kid is just a different tier.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about, and this is a great opportunity to get an Eric Naline hot take. Some of the guys are wearing some T-shirts around. Obviously, one for Jade. Jade's wearing one for Quinn, trying to get some awards out there. One of probably the most offensive omissions was for the Butkus Award and not having Ant Hill on that list. Love to hear your thoughts on that, Eric.
I mean, it's nonsense. It's funny. It's going to be the same people that vote on name recognition are going to be hyping him up as probably the most famous or well-known defensive player in all of college football going into next year. I can't think of anybody that will have a higher profile going into next year. So he's going to win over all the dummies next year that are going to be building him up this entire offseason. It's pretty frustrating for him, but who cares, man? You go win it next year. It's all about winning a national championship. I know he doesn't. He might feel slighted a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't care. Now, a guy like Jade Barron, hopefully he wins it because he came back. You want him to be rewarded for coming back an extra year, finally getting the recognition that I felt he should have deserved all along. I mean, I cannot believe they didn't have a second-round grade on him last year. I was very vocal about that. I was comparing him to Brian Branch at Alabama that went out the year prior in the second round, except I said Jade could play corner. Everybody thought he was at nickel because he couldn't play corner. I said he was at nickel because he could play corner. So hopefully Jade wins the Thorpe. But, the time's going to come for Anthony Hill. He got screwed over. Seeing Stutzman on there was, I think, the most insulting thing. That's what really rubbed it in.
LC, these awards are pretty it's so seniority based and who's paid their dues and earned their chance at it, right? If you look back at like Academy Awards and the great directors and which directors have won awards and when they have won them.
The hat's coming off. The hat's coming off. I thought he was going to turn around like over the top talking about
I'd just like to tease these film takes for LC to see how he responds.
So no, I want to get into this legacy awards, Ian. Who's won a legacy award?
Oh man, Gladiator 2 is probably going to win one, right?
Look at what Scorsese won his best director film for, and then tell me where that film ranks in his catalog.
Oh no, I know exactly.
Tell me about all the best director awards Tarantino's won And you just know if he makes his 10th and final movie that it'll be like just
Yeah. No, that
No,
happens.
and I don't disagree with you. I think that the awards, specifically the Academy Awards, are just that. I mean, they were designed by the studio, right, as a promotional thing to get people to go to the movie. So I appreciate the comp there, Ian. You did a good job. You did a good job. I'm not as mad as I was about the Sundance thing, even though you totally redeemed yourself on that. So nice work. Stutzman, yeah. I think the thing here with Stutzman is, let's be honest, he's on a very, very bad team. And he's doing exactly what Ian just said. You know, he's came back, he paid his dues, he's the story of that team. He plays hard, he does, frankly, what he's supposed to do. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with this one. Stutzman over Hill is ridiculous. It's an absurdity. All right, boys. I want to hear from one of our favorite sponsors for the Monday night show. We've got two that are really, really great. And I want to let's hear from Luxe first, shall we?
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
If you're not feeling good about yourself, and look, I'm not saying you shouldn't use Xanax or Lexapro, but if you're not feeling great about yourself, I highly recommend just going to Twitter because, man, you're going to feel really smart. The one of the questions here is, what's the status on Owens for A&M? I'm going to think he's probably means Quinn here. I don't know why.
No. I think he's talking about Reuben Owens, their running back.
Reuben Owens, right? Okay.
Yeah. I don't expect him to play. Elko said today that he's out there running around for whatever that's worth. They expected him to be out when he got hurt in the offseason, and I think that's still the plan. I don't know. It's just that's chicanery. That's just coaches trying to give Texas something to think about. I don't expect he's going to come back and play, get his first minutes back against Texas. I don't see that happening.
Well, one of the things that I was referring to is the idea that there's a lot of FSU fans out there that are claiming some stupidity because we've got a quarterback that's hurt right now. And we are on a Monday. There was a slight status update, Eric, on Quinn. Can you fill us in on that a little bit? Just the idea.
Sark said he's going to practice today. Sark worded it weird. What did he say? Quinn plans on practicing today. That was, it sounded like what Sark was going to let him take the day off, and Quinn said he's going to go. I don't know. Quinn's got to play. I think, he's trying to improve his draft grade, and he looked well on his way to improving his draft grade in that first half on Saturday. And then, the weird stuff started happening. I think he's going to play. I'll tell you this, man, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there right now, definitely behind the scenes. I've heard a lot of different things. I'm just going to let the week play out, keep hitting my sources up. We'll definitely know how he looks, after a couple practices, but they're practicing later, so I haven't really heard anything yet.
I'm going to throw this one over to you, Ian. This is from AR. Has your confidence in the run game risen in the past couple games?
A little bit. There's a few things they're doing better, obviously. Their combo blocks on outside zone are on point. They were bad against Georgia. Well, they just kind of got whipped by Georgia. They were bad.
Every run scheme was bad against Georgia.
Yeah, they were a little sloppy in some of that stuff. In some of the other games, it's been a lot cleaner. I noticed Gunnar Helm's blocks on pin blocks, and just all of his blocks in general have been a lot better the last couple of weeks. Not like amazing, but he keeps his feet moving, and he's not just trying to get in the way and stay there, which is important. But I mean, we won't really know until A&M might be a test. I don't have a great feel for their defense yet. If they beat them, it looks like they play Georgia almost a lock as a rematch, and we'll know for sure after that game whether the run game is meaningfully improved or not.
Yeah, Georgia's in, and then the winner of Texas A&M are in. So we know, it's going to be 2 of those 3 teams. Georgia's definitely in.
Georgia, because Georgia plays an ACC team, right? Georgia Tech.
Well, they've just clinched the league. Yeah, they've clinched their spot.
Yeah.
One of the questions here is: can Texas still get a home playoff game even if they lose this week?
It's a lot of calculations you're making us do on the spot.
Yeah,
No, I understand that.
I'm thinking about this. Who else? I mean, Ole Miss is out. Alabama's out. Who else would be in contention? Tennessee. Obviously, Ohio State would have one, or the loser of the Big Ten championship game is going to have a home playoff game.
So it's 5. Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's a likelihood. I guess my guess would be if they do lose this weekend and Georgia just wipes the floor with A&M, then you might get a little bit of a bump there because.
Well, I don't know that you had A&M or Texas just would have lost to the team that Georgia wiped the floor with.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
They might. I think they might because Notre Dame probably gets one. The Big Ten champion gets one.
Group of 5 team gets one.
Not one of the top, not one of the first 4 at large seeds. I wouldn't think.
No, they just get in.
Okay.
Tennessee, I think, would be ahead of Texas, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can think of a 4th team that would be ahead of Texas unless maybe if Miami lost the ACC championship.
They wouldn't have Miami ahead of Texas.
But so I feel like I'm probably missing a team. But it seems like they would have a decent – it might be like Texas versus Indiana for who gets a home game.
We know which way that's going to go.
Well, I hope we know.
Let's not even – I don't even know why we're talking about this.
It's because I asked. I put a thing in the comment and then I put it on the screen.
No, I know
That's
why, but I don't know why.
No, I understand. All right.
I had to so everybody could watch me do finger math, trying to figure out how many at large teams get a home field
Yeah,
bye.
you reminded me of my kid. We were teaching him division yesterday, and he's just staring at his hands blankly.
We've talked a little bit about this, and the idea of A&M being able to move the ball on the defense. So again, this is really early in the week here, Coach. But I'm just curious. This is a comment from Alan. The only way that Aggie has a chance is if Reed plays out of his mind, and if the Texas offense just absolutely craps the bed. He's guessing 34-17. How do you respond to that?
I mean, yeah, Reed has to play out of his mind, but Ag is going to try to play ball control and field position, right? If you can try to make Texas maybe drive the field on you, they have some bad fielding decisions on special teams and some turnovers, then they won't have to. Reed won't have to play out of his mind. He can lean on defense and special teams to win the game, right? In a running game, so to speak. So probably doesn't have to play out of his mind. I don't think they want him to play out of his mind. They want him to kind of just manage the game like a normal quarterback versus having him throw the ball 30 plus times is not a good recipe. So he doesn't have to play out of his mind. Just make key plays on 3rd down and stay ahead of the chains and let the defense and special teams kind of control it from there. That's what I would do if I was A&M, honestly, because, Reed's not going to beat Texas. I'm sorry, not by himself.
No.
The A&M formula for victory is maybe special teams and then quarterback catastrophe for Texas, I think.
Yeah, with the help of their own defensive line. They got NFL guys up on their defensive line. They got 3 NFL guys at least. If they start playing like their potential, and they have had some good games, Texas's pass protection would have to have a Georgia-like game, including the running backs. But they have a path to victory. It would involve just a meltdown on offense and probably some turnovers, but they're still going to have to earn it. Like, them beating Texas, what would they have to score to beat Texas? At least, I would say at least 21. And that's tough. So it's tough to score 21 points on Texas.
This is, and I'm a little bit unfamiliar with this, Coach. We're obviously talking about Jaden Blue here, and the question is Blue is so important to us. Is it illegal to use flexi grip It's only $19.95, and Black Friday is just around the corner. So didn't they used to have before they really went to the gloves, didn't they used to have like that spray that the wide receivers would put on their hands?
Yeah, they had that. The Raiders receivers used to use it.
Yeah.
The little guy on Little Giants.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a good reference point on this one. When I was a kid, Lester Hayes was at our local baseball card shops. Baseball cards used to be so popular they had baseball card shops.
Yeah.
And Lester Hayes was there, Texas A&M graduate, went to Wheatley High School right here, 5th Ward, Houston. And he was known for stickum. He would have so much, basically what was like paste or glue on his hands. They outlawed it. But I think his name was even Mr. Stickum or something like that. And it was a highlight of that summer for me to go meet an NFL player. But yeah, that's an Aggie guy who was mainly the one of the most famous people for using that stuff. So maybe we need to bring Stickum back as homage for Lester Hayes via Jaden Blue.
It is. We talked. This came up a little bit in Sark's presser today. With that, Coach, do you think this is this physical? I mean, is this the way that he's carrying the ball, or is this a mental issue with him?
Some is the way he's carrying the ball. Just like it's just fundamentals, honestly, right? You see him in the press conference holding the ball. He still didn't have it high and tight.
I was noticing the same thing, man.
So I'm like, yo, what are you doing, right? So it's just going back to fundamentals, man. Forearm, fingers, shoulder, and close it in, right? You're running through traffic, cover it up. He just refuses to do that. And so it becomes mental. I think, who's the NFL player? Was it Tiki Barber? They made a big deal about him fumbling. He had to fix all the issues. He started carrying the ball kind of funny.
Yeah, he fumbled a lot.
Yeah, maybe Blue needs to do that, but it's really just fundamentals, man. Just cover it up if you're in traffic. Can't make multiple people miss in traffic, right? You get in your yards, cover the ball, protect it. That's all you got to do.
Want to take a quick moment here and hear from our last sponsor of the evening, Mr. David.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
So we've got Sandman223 is asking this, and I'll start with you, Ian. I know, admittedly, you've said you haven't scouted the defense for the Aggies fully quite yet, but I'm just curious, just given our offense, Sandman is asking, can we please pass the ball downfield versus Aggie? Their secondary is not good. Do you see us being able to move the ball pretty well in that regard?
I mean, that kind of depends on Texas. I don't think A&M is going to have much say in that. Auburn certainly lit them up over the top a couple times. But Texas has gotten guys open down the field against everybody, and they just don't hit it very often. So, I mean, you get the right week, the right pass that Ewers has dialed in or whatever, and it could absolutely happen. They should probably try, but you gotta have a plan B because that just keeps not really working out for Texas this season.
They had some A&M had some busts against Auburn that Elko seemed pretty concerned about today in his press conference. Yeah. He mentioned that people hadn't had success throwing it over their head a whole lot this season, and then that game they had pretty much a meltdown. It was sort of a combination of player error, busts, and it seems to me like he knows the way he talked about the Texas offense. It seemed like he knows that he's going to be tested in that regard after their latest tape.
What would you say? And Eric, I know that what I'm about to ask for is a very specific and small sample size, but you do live in Aggie country to a small degree. What is the sense that you're getting from your neighbors about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty Aggie corridor, I would say. I went to the store on Saturday pregame though, wearing my IT stuff, and I saw more of UT fans at once than I ever have. So I was shocked. I came home and told my wife about it. There are UT fans everywhere. So maybe there's more we're lurking as opposed to Aggies where, you can't help but miss them. They drive maroon cars. They wear maroon shirts. They paint their face for work. But, there is a lot of Aggies around here, and I've got a handful of LSU fans. But I'm not seeing as much Aggie gear as I have been. The height of it was Johnny Manziel mania, and everybody in the world was wearing A&M stuff. And I'd go to the Woodlands Mall, and there's A&M stuff everywhere right around Christmas time. I couldn't believe my eyes. And you just don't see that nearly as much. Even though I do think that I think Elko is going to be good for that program, and they'll get back to being a consistently 8 to 9 win, maybe 10 win team. But yeah, they're not as boisterous as they have been in the past. That Sumlin era, they had them feeling pretty good about themselves. They're not quite as vocal as they used to be, though. At least not yet. I think they kind of know that the tide has turned. Texas in their first year is getting ready to play for the Big 12 SEC championship. This is the first time they've ever controlled their own destiny going into the last week to play in the SEC championship. So this game, it's like it's been on a collision path course since 2011. It almost seems like it's meant to be. And we know how the way this rivalry has gone more often than not. It that's kind of gives me confidence going into this game too. Like it's just kind of the way of things.
One of the questions I want to try to get to as many of these in the chat as we can. Victor is asking, and I'll start with you, Ian. I'd love to hear from you as well, Coach. Will Reed be the best mobile QB we have faced this year?
No, Taylon Green was better.
What makes Taylon better?
He can throw past his first read. He doesn't panic in the pocket and try to make it happen all on his own. He can play within the flow of the offense. And he's a pretty good runner in his own right.
He's played a lot more football.
Yeah. I mean, Reed might be awesome down the line. I'm not trying to be overly negative, but he's on the field because he has to be. So.
You know what? I'll go with Taylon Green too. Taylor's different, especially when he's playing very good, right? He has a lot of ups and downs, but when he's on, he's really, really good. Reed, I just haven't seen enough of him. I saw the game versus LSU, right? He was hot. The crowd was into it. They run the ball. He had the read option going, but when you key on him, you make him a passer. You see him struggle against South Carolina. You see him struggle against Auburn. So I would go with Taylon Green as well with that. He's just a more complete quarterback who's played more games.
It's not that Green was the best quarterback. That Arkansas that's the best offense they've faced so far this year, and Texas did quite well against that offense.
So I'll throw this one over to you, Eric. Who do you think is better, the Kentucky D line or what we're about to see in Aggieville?
A&M's.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't always play to their potential. I don't know why that is. I don't watch them quite as much, but you could see the traits. Like they do some pretty freaky stuff up front. They're athletic as heck. They are better at getting upfield for sure than they are holding their ground. So you could maybe make the point that Kentucky on paper, or at least before this past game where they got pushed around, would be better at the point of attack than A&M, but A&M would be more athletic getting upfield. So maybe you can mix and match it. But, man, I know Kentucky just got pushed around too. So I think Texas will be able to run the ball. My concern, again, goes back to, are they going to be able to stun on them and blitz and get after Quinn? And, Quinn's escapability is an issue even when he isn't hurt. Now that he's, clearly not 100%, it's going to compound the issue.
We've got a lot of folks checking in with us on Twitter, and we really appreciate that. One of the things that Quentin is asking here on YouTube is where do we get that IT merch? And if you come over to YouTube, we've got it in the description. We've got a link for all the stuff there. So please, and when you're over there checking out that link for the hats and all the cool stuff that we have available to you, please like and subscribe. It really does help with what we're trying to do over here. And join us over at InsideTexas.com. We've got, it's about to get absolutely buck wild with with signing day coming up. We've got obviously the portal. I mean, it's just going to be insane. All surrounded by this new year with the playoffs. And I feel honestly, I feel a little bit bad for my Inside Texas brethren here, because the amount of work that is about to be dumped on them is pretty impressive. One thing with this, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Eric. With all of this happening at the same time, like I guess my question is, how do you focus? Where do you put your focus? Because it's all happening all around the same time.
Well, I mean, we got to focus on all of it, sort of like Sarkisian does. We've got to, and we delegate to the most important stuff. You got a guy like Ian. Ian doesn't have to worry about recruiting. So that's good. He just keeps doing what he's doing. Charlie has to worry about a little bit of both, football and recruiting. I've got to worry about a little bit of both. Paul, that's mainly football. So you got to have the right people in the right place, like Sark does. He's got these people worried about recruiting. And then some people have to pull double duty, the team and recruiting, like he does. It doesn't stop for him. But really, what's most important, like, hey, Saturday morning, getting ready for a game, but we hear that, Joseph Mbachu is about to commit. Well, you got to stop what we're doing, shoot a video, write an article real quick so that we're not caught blindsided when it happens. I both love this part of the year, but sometimes it gets a little stressful because there's a lot of stuff to track.
There is a lot, and we want you to join us again over at InsideTexas.com. We'd love to have you over there. And again, like and subscribe. We do appreciate everybody being here for us this week. It's going to be absolutely chock full of Aggies information. We're going to start. We started today with our lives in the afternoon, the morning, and we'll have those all the way up to Thursday. I believe tomorrow is with Paul. Then we've got Ian on Wednesday. Is that right, Ian? And then
yep.
Thursday will be Justin, Ian, and I. So please check us out in the morning. We've got that live. We've got another live on Wednesday. And then obviously our special programming, which is going to be the inside the program and deep dive stuff. We want you to join us. So please check us out. We're going to be here all week. Thanks so much.